Good morning students. Welcome to SST So Simple tutorial. I hope your preparations for the exams are going on well. Today I will discuss few important questions from Money and Credit, the third lesson of your economics textbook. In this way, revision will take place. You will not find many small questions, 1 mark questions from this lesson. My focus will be mainly on 3 and 5 marks question. Let us begin with the first subunit, money as a medium of exchange. Let us see the two questions on the slide. How does money solve the problem of double coincidence of wants? Explain with examples. See, money solves the problem of double coincidence of wants by acting as a medium of exchange. If a shoe manufacturer wants to sell shoes in a market and buy rice under barter system, both parties selling shoes and rice have to agree to sell and buy each other's commodities, and that creates a problem which is called double coincidence of wants. This problem is overcome by introduction of money. Here, the shoe manufacturer will first exchange shoes that he has produced for money and then exchange the money for rice. Second question. Explain money as a medium of exchange. The medium of exchange is an important function of money. What does it mean? It means money acts as an intermediary for the goods and services in an exchange of transaction. Its use as a medium of exchange has removed a major difficulty of double coincidence of wants in a barter system. So a person holding money can easily exchange it for any commodities or services that he or she might want. The medium of exchange function also implies that money is generally acceptable by the people. They can buy goods and services using money. Rupee is widely accepted as a medium of exchange in India. Explain. Rupee is authorized by the government of the country, that is, rupee is authorized by Government of India. Its demand and supply can be controlled by the central bank of the country, that is, Reserve Bank of India. In India, the law legalizes the use of rupee as a medium of payment that cannot be refused in settling transactions in India. No individual can legally refuse payments in rupees. In India, the value of each good and service is measured in rupees. What are the advantages of depositing money in the banks? First of all, it is safe to keep money in banks as compared to the house. Second, people can earn interest on the deposited money. People also have the provision to withdraw the money as and when they require. People can also make payments through check. It's so simple. Let us now see the loan activities of banks. Explain the 3 loan activities of banks in India. How do banks mediate between those who have surplus money and those who need money? Accepting deposits and lending money are the primary functions of a bank. Banks keep a small proportion of their deposits as cash with themselves. For example, banks in India these days hold about 15% of their deposits as cash. This is kept as a provision to pay the depositors who might come to withdraw money from the bank. Banks use a major portion of the deposits to extend loans. Banks make use of the deposits to meet the loan requirement of the people. In this way, banks mediate between those who have surplus funds and those who are in the need of these funds. Banks charge a higher rate of interest on loans than what they offer on deposits. The difference between what is charged from the borrowers and what is paid to the depositors is the main source of income. Now I will come to the first question. Explain the loan activities of banks in India. See, people have extra cash with them. So those having extra cash, open a bank account in the name and deposit the surplus money there. Out of the total money deposited with the bank, 15% of it is kept as a minimum cash balance to pay to the depositors who might come to withdraw money from the bank on any given day. And the rest of the amount is used to extend loans to the borrowers. So, both the questions are almost same, only the words are different. Otherwise, you have to write the loan functions of the bank only. Question 1. What is collateral? Why do banks ask for collaterals while giving credit to a borrower? So, what is collateral? Collateral is an asset that the borrower owns. For example, land, building, vehicle, livestock. It may be land documents or deposits with banks, which stands as a security against the money borrowed. Then why do banks ask for collateral while giving credit to a borrower? In case the borrower fails to repay the loan, the lender has the right to sell the asset or collateral to recover the loan money. Let us now move to the next subunit, the two different credit situations. Let us come to a very important question from the board point of view. Whether credit will be useful or not depends upon the situation. Give two different examples in support of this statement. See, it is true to say that the usefulness of credit depends on situations. Sometimes the purpose for which the loan was taken is fulfilled and sometimes it is not so. Credit proves to be useful when the borrower is able to return the loan amount on time and also make some profit with the use of that money. For example, Salim, in your textbook, a shoe manufacturer, took a loan from different sources to complete the order of 3,000 pairs of shoes. In the end, he delivered the order, made profit and repaid the loan. On the other hand, sometimes credit is very painful when the borrower is not able to repay the loan and many a times caught in a situation of debt trap. For example, a small farmer, Swapna, took loan for crop cultivation, but due to some reasons she faced the situation of crop failure. So she took another loan for spraying pesticides, but the production was not enough to repay the loan. So she was caught in a debt trap. Sometimes you may be asked to describe the positive or negative role of credit. Describe positive role of credit with examples or describe negative role of credit with examples. In such question, you may quote the story of Salim if positive role is asked and the story of Swapna if negative role of credit is asked. Now let us go to the next subunit, formal sector credit in India. Distinguish between formal and informal credit sources. As I always say in such questions, you must make a table. So make a table, formal on one side and informal on the other side. Formal sources of credit, they work under the supervision of RBI. Informal, they do not work under any government organization. The rate of interest is very low in formal sources of credit. The rate of interest is very high in case of informal sources of credit. The formal sources of credit also have social welfare motive apart from profit making. But in case of informal sources of credit, their only motive is profit making. Formal sources include commercial banks, cooperative societies, etc. Whereas relatives, money lenders and landlords are the main sources of informal credit. In what ways does the RBI supervise the functioning of banks? You know that all the commercial banks maintain a minimum cash balance out of the deposits they receive. The RBI monitors that the banks actually maintain the cash balance. The RBI monitors that the banks give loans not to just profit making businesses and traders but also to small cultivators, small scale industries, to small borrowers, etc. The rate of interest of the formal lenders is decided by the RBI, so normally the interest rates are very low. Periodically, banks have to submit informations to the RBI on how much they are lending, to whom they are lending, and at what interest rate they are lending, etc. Now, if you are asked the functions of RBI, you can start with RBI issues currency notes on behalf of the central government, and then you can write all the points discussed. Let us move to the next question. Cheap and affordable credit is crucial for the country's development. Explain the statement. If you are asked this question, I wish that you must start your answer with these lines given in your book. Higher cost of borrowings means a large part of the earnings of the borrowers is used to repay the loan. Hence, borrowers have less income left for themselves, as we saw for Shamal in Sonpur. Then, in certain cases, the higher interest rate of the borrowings can mean that the amount to be repaid is greater than the income of the borrower. This could lead to increasing debt, as we saw for Rama in Sonpur, and debt trap. For these reasons, banks and cooperative societies need to lend more. If this happens, this would lead to higher incomes, and many people could then borrow for a variety of needs. They could grow crops, they could do business, set up small scale industries, etc. They could set up new industries or trades in good. One more point, an important point. Some people who wish to start an enterprise by borrowings may not do so because of the high cost of borrowings. Therefore, cheap and affordable credits are crucial for the country's development. Why do we need to expand formal sources of credit in India? Explain by giving reasons. The formal sector meets only about half of the total credit needs of the rural people. The remaining credit needs are met from the informal sources. Since loans from informal sources carry a very high rate of interest, they do little to increase the income of the borrowers. Higher rate of interest means the borrower has to pay a major portion of earnings to repay the interest of the loan. This often leads to debt trap for the borrowers. Thus, it is necessary that banks and cooperatives increase their lending, particularly in the rural areas, to save people and especially poor farmers and workers from the exploitation of the informal sources of credit. This will thus also automatically reduce the dependence of rural poor people on informal sources. As I just now said in the previous answer, that formal sector meets only about half of the total credit needs of the rural people, the remaining credit needs are met from the informal sources. Poor households are still dependent on informal sources of credit. Give reason. Firstly, banks are not present everywhere in rural India, whereas the informal sources are easily available in all the villages. Then, getting a loan from a bank is difficult than taking loan from the informal sources because bank loans require proper documents and collateral. Most of the poor people don't possess anything to offer as collateral. Money lenders, on the other hand, know the borrowers personally and hence provide loans to the poor people without any collateral. Sometimes, if needed, the borrowers approach to the money lender even without repaying the previous loan. Thus, you will find that the methods of business of the formal sources are very complex. whereas the informal sources have a very simple way of business. Let us now see the questions from the next subunit, self-help groups. What are self-help groups? How do they work? Explain. Self-help group is basically a new idea to organize rural poor, particularly women, who pool their savings. It is an informal group of people with same socio-economic background who come together voluntarily to save whatever amount they can save conveniently out of their earnings. They agree to contribute to a common fund and to lend to the members to meet their needs. Next, how do they work? Generally, this group has 15 to 20 members. Saving per member varies from rupees 25 to rupees 100 or more, depending on the economic condition of the member. The group charges interest on these loans, but it is very less than what moneylenders charge. All important decisions regarding the savings and loan are taken by the group members. This is very important. There is no outsider to dictate them. Non-repayment of loans is dealt with seriously by group members, and because of this feature, they get loan from the bank even though they have no collateral. Describe the advantages of self-help groups for the poor. The advantages of self-help groups for the poor. First of all, the members get loan from the self-help groups at a reasonable rate. When the group is regular in saving for a year or two, then the group is eligible for getting loan from the bank. Bank provide loan in the name of the group, and then the self-help group gives loan to its members at very low rate of interest. Loan is provided to help them to create self-employment opportunities also. Self-help group helps women in making them financially self-reliant and provides platform to discuss and act on a variety of social issues. Now read these questions. How do self-help groups help borrowers to overcome the problem of lack of collateral? How are self-help groups emerging as an important source of credit? Explain. If you understood what we discussed just now, you can write the answer, is it not? But before you finish revision, you must at least once go through the following questions. What is the meaning of barter system? What is meant by double coincidence of bonds? Highlight the inherent problem in double coincidence of bonds. Why can one not refuse a payment made in rupees in India? What is a check? What is collateral? Define credit. What comprises terms of credit? What are the two forms of modern currency? Who supervises the functioning of the formal sources of credit? Give any two examples of informal sources of credit. These questions may be asked as one-mark question. So prepare yourself with these questions. So students, with these questions, we finish revision of the lesson Money and Credit. In the next class, I will be discussing another lesson with you. Till then, happy reading and have a nice time. Thank you.